Lightning slashes the sky above a century-old row house in central Philadelphia. Rain hammers the roof, drumming so hard it almost swallows the sound of distant thunder. In a dimly lit study on the second floor, Alden Harrington sits at a vintage mahogany desk, the warm glow of his desk lamp reflecting off the framed family photos scattered around him. He's staring at an email on his laptop. "Thank you for booking your trip to Tokyo." Amount paid, $10,482. He leans back, allowing a small, proud smile to tug at the corners of his mouth. This trip 2 weeks in Japan is a surprise for his wife, Selena, for her 40th birthday. He sacrificed many weekends juggling engineering projects to fund it. Tonight, the stormy backdrop feels almost fitting, like nature is applauding his grand gesture or warning him. Suddenly, a flash of white light illuminates the study, followed by the crash of thunder. Alden hears a buzzing sound and notices a phone vibrating on the edge of the desk. It's Selena's phone. She left it charging earlier. The screen brightens and one name jumps out at him. Cyrus M. A short, urgent text pops up. "I can't wait for us to leave together." Alden's heart clenches. For a split second, he wonders if he's misunderstanding, but "leave together" rings in his mind like a siren. With trembling fingers, he slides the phone closer, sees there are more messages, some from earlier in the week. The thread is enough to confirm something is terribly off. He stands abruptly, the antique chair scraping against the hardwood floor. Another burst of lightning casts jagged shadows across the walls. Alden grabs his own phone and calls Selena. Voicemail. He curses under his breath. She said she'd be home hours ago, but apparently she's still out, maybe at her photography studio. Or so she claimed. Leaving the study, he slips into the dark hallway. Rain slants against the windows, making the old house groan in the wind. Downstairs, a soft glow spills from the living room. He quietly descends the steps, footsteps muffled by the plush runner. He finds Mira, their 19-year-old daughter, curled on the sofa with a psychology textbook open on her lap. She flinches when she sees him. "Dad, you scared me," she says, blinking. "It's past midnight. What are you doing up?" "Couldn't sleep," he answers curtly, eyes flicking toward the front door. "Where's your mom?" Mira hesitates, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "She texted me she's at the studio something about preparing a last-minute gallery piece. She said not to wait up." A wave of thunder rattles the windows, and Mira glances uneasily at the violent weather outside. Is everything okay? Alden wants to ask about the name Cyrus, wants to confront her about any secrets she's keeping. But he bites it back. He can't toss accusations without proof. Instead, he forces a half-smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "I'm fine, kid. You should get some rest." Upstairs, he returns to the study. The phone is still on the desk, the message from Cyrus glowing like a neon sign. He sets the device aside and rereads the email confirmation for the Japan trip. A bitter knot forms in his stomach. That vacation was supposed to be the spark that reignites their marriage, battered by years of long work hours and Selena's dissatisfaction. Now it feels like a cruel joke. He stares at a family portrait taken 2 summers ago. Selena laughing, Mira in a bright sundress, 16-year-old Rowan standing awkwardly next to his sister, and Alden himself, looking calm, confident, arms around them all. The thunder booms again, shaking him back to reality. He picks up Selena's phone and scrolls to the last text from Cyrus M. "Just a bit longer. Let's handle our situations. Then it's just you and me." He lowers the phone. His mind races with questions he never thought he'd have to ask. Who exactly is Cyrus Mitchell? Why is he sending such messages to his wife? How long has this been going on? And most stomach-churning of all, was Selena planning to leave him? Outside, the rain intensifies, sheets of water cascading down the window. Alden draws in a shaky breath, then pockets the phone, letting the final text echo inside him. He won't confront her blindly. He won't rage like some clueless husband. He's an engineer, a man of method and calculation. If Selena is involved with another man, he needs to see the entire structure of her betrayal before deciding on the demolition plan. Lightning flashes, illuminating Alden's reflection in the window, a tense man in his late 30s, once proud, now bracing for a storm far more destructive than the one outside. He flicks off the lamp, leaving the study in darkness. One thing is certain. Everything changes tonight. Morning arrives with the sky still gray and swollen from the storm. The rain has eased to a drizzle, but puddles flood the sidewalk outside the Harrington home. In the dining room, Alden lays out plates for breakfast, trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy. He hears the front door open, the telltale click of Selena's boots on the tile. She appears in the doorway, hair damp and pulled back into a messy bun. Dark circles smudge her eyes as though she got no sleep. "You're up early," she says, forcing a small smile. "I thought we could all have breakfast together," Alden replies, voice calm but tight. "It's rare these days." Selena sets her purse down. "I'm sorry I got in so late. The studio lighting equipment broke and I had to— Studio trouble, huh?" Alden arches a brow, drumming his fingers on the table. Part of him wants to pull out her phone, confront her about the text messages, but he resists. He notices how she won't quite meet his eyes, how her explanations sound rehearsed. From the staircase, Mira emerges, yawning. "Morning," she mumbles, sliding into a chair. "What's for breakfast?" Rowan shuffles in soon after, earbuds in place, glancing around the room before pulling them out. "Storm kept me up half the night." Selena takes a seat, glancing at the steaming pot of coffee. "You all right, Alden? You look like you didn't sleep either." He exhales slowly. "Busy night. Let's just say I have a surprise in the works." Her gaze flickers with curiosity and a trace of anxiety. "A surprise?" "Mm-hmm." He steps away, grabs his phone from the counter, and opens the email about the Japan trip. "Remember when you said you'd always wanted to see cherry blossoms in Tokyo? Well," he shows the email with a flourish, "consider your birthday wish granted." Selena's expression wavers between genuine astonishment and underlying tension. "Wow, that's thank you." She tries to smile, but her eyes dart to Mira, whose face lights up at the mention of Japan. Mira practically squeals. "We're really going to Tokyo? That's amazing, Dad." Alden shrugs, ignoring the conflicting churn in his gut. Figured it was time for a proper family vacation. Rowan nods slowly, as if he's trying to piece together why the atmosphere feels charged, despite the good news. "Sounds great," he mutters. Selena sets her coffee mug down. "This is so generous. I don't even know what to say." Alden studies her carefully. She's thanking him, but something about her posture, her shoulders tense, her fingers tapping restlessly on the table tells him her mind is somewhere else, possibly with Cyrus. The name flits through Alden's mind like a wasp, stinging him all over again. But instead of unleashing accusations, he throws on a polite, measured tone. "Plenty of time to plan," he says. "We don't leave for another few weeks. Until then, we should coordinate schedules, finances, passports." He watches for a reaction. Her face pales slightly at the mention of finances. Mira catches the shift and jumps in enthusiastically. "Oh, I can't wait for the food, the shopping, everything about Japan is so cool." But Rowan cocks his head, noticing Selena's discomfort. "Mom, you okay?" he asks quietly. Selena blinks, then forces a breezy laugh. "Yeah, of course. I'm just overwhelmed." Alden glances at the clock. He's due at the engineering firm soon. Grabbing his jacket, he presses a quick kiss to Mira's temple, an absent gesture of fatherly affection. His lips barely graze Selena's cheek, an awkward move that leaves them both wincing inside. As he heads out the door, he hears Mira chatter about an itinerary. Selena responds with hesitant excitement. The clash of voices feels distant, like it belongs to another family. Alden steps onto the wet sidewalk, the cool drizzle dampening his hair. He looks back at the house, heart pounding with tension. If Selena truly is hiding something, he'll find out soon enough. And if that means unraveling every thread of their marriage, so be it. Late morning sunlight seeps through the plate glass windows of Selena Caldwell Photography, warming the polished floors. The interior is sleek and modern, with large canvas portraits of fashion shoots adorning the walls. Selena sits behind her desktop, editing pictures of a model in a crimson dress, but her attention drifts every time her phone buzzes. She casts a quick glance around. The studio is otherwise empty. Her assistant is late. Pulling the phone closer, she reads a new text from Cyrus Mitchell. "We need to talk. If you're serious about leaving, time is running out." Her stomach twists. She types a response, something about how complicated it is, but erases it before hitting send. The trip to Japan with Alden looming on the horizon has rattled her carefully laid plans. Maybe she thought she could juggle everything: her marriage, Cyrus, the finances, but Alden's sudden generosity forces her to confront her guilt-hedden. The door chimes and Carmen Bentley bustles in, carrying 2 coffee cups and a clipboard. Her wavy black hair is pulled into a low ponytail, and she has that alert, determined look of someone who's juggling 5 tasks at once. "Morning, boss," Carmen says, handing Selena a latte. "You look stressed?" Selena forces a smile. "I overslept. Thanks for the coffee." Carmen sets her things down. She's been Selena's close friend since they were both rookies in the photography world. "Are we prepping for the new portrait session at noon?" she asks, flipping through a schedule. "I got a text from a client wanting to reschedule." A beep from Selena's phone interrupts them. Carmen's eyes flick to it, noticing the tension in Selena's posture. "Everything all right? You've been jumpy all week." Selena sighs. "There's someone from my past. We've reconnected." She feels her cheeks warm, the confession half shameful, half defiant. "His name is Cyrus. He was my college boyfriend before Alden." Carmen's brows shoot up. "You're seeing him? Selena, does Alden know?" The guilt weighs heavily on Selena's chest. She stands and busies herself organizing camera lenses on the countertop, her back turned. "Alden suspects something, but not everything. Last night I stayed out late, told him it was the studio, which isn't a total lie. I did do some work here, but I also met Cyrus for a drink afterward." "God." Carmen sets down her clipboard. "This is risky. I mean, you have a family." Selena glances at her friend, eyes searching. "I feel trapped, Carmen. Alden, he's a good man, but he's all about work, stability. It's like we're roommates who talk bills and errands. Then Cyrus appears, reminding me of what I used to crave. He's offering me a chance to break free." She gestures at the open floor plan around them. But now Alden's planning some big vacation to Japan. Everything's swirling at once. "I'm overwhelmed." Carmen looks torn, lips pressed into a thin line. "Does Cyrus want you to leave your marriage for him?" Selena exhales. "Yes, and I was seriously considering it." A knock at the door startles them. A middle-aged woman carrying a portfolio enters, presumably the 11 a.m. client. Selena and Carmen exchange looks, silently agreeing to shelve their conversation. As Selena greets the client, she forces a bright, professional smile. On the inside, her mind is a churning mess of fear and anticipation. She can't help but check her phone repeatedly, half expecting another message from Cyrus telling her to hurry up. When the client steps into the back dressing area, Selena's phone lights up again. She glances down. "Don't keep me waiting. This is our shot." CM. She quickly locks the screen, a sick pang in her gut. Later, she'll have to come up with a new excuse to slip away. Cyrus is growing impatient, and as she thinks of Alden's earnest grin that morning, unveiling that Japan trip, she feels herself caught between 2 worlds: the safe, predictable life she once cherished, and the magnetic pull of an affair that promises everything new and thrilling, yet threatens to destroy the very foundation she stands on. Over at Harrington and Vermeil Engineering, an open-concept office buzzes with phone calls and muffled chatter. Alden stands by a sprawling drafting table, scanning a set of structural blueprints for an upcoming mall renovation. Garrett Vermeil, his business partner, steps up beside him. "Hey, the East Wing specs look solid," Garrett says, flipping through pages. "But you seem distracted. Long night?" Alden forces a tight-lipped smile. "You could say that. Personal stuff. Sorry if I'm off my game." Garrett chuckles sympathetically. "We all have those days. Just don't let it mess up the load calculations, okay?" Alden appreciates the humor but can't shake the tension lodged between his shoulders. While he's analyzing beams and support columns, his mind circles back to Selena's phone messages. Every beep from his own phone makes him jump, half expecting some new revelation. Finally, he retreats to his glass-walled office for privacy. He checks the joint bank account statement on his computer, something he rarely does with such scrutiny. Lately, the account has dipped in small increments, hardly noticeable at a glance, but definitely there. Withdrawals at odd hours, or tiny lumps that add up. He frowns. Someone's nibbling at the finances, he mutters under his breath. Just then, his phone vibrates with an automated alert. He glances down. Your account ending in 7,620 had a withdrawal of $750 at 10:34 a.m. His gut clenches. He didn't make that withdrawal. Selena? Why $750, and for what? Recalling that the previous night she claimed the studio's lights needed repair, he wonders if she's siphoning money for another reason. Maybe funneling it to pay for something personal like Cyrus? Before he can process further, there's a knock at his office door. A junior engineer named Hannah McKinley pokes her head in. Hey, Alden, sorry to bother you. We need a quick review on the Mallard Project's seismic braces. He nods, brushing aside the swirl of suspicion to keep up appearances. Sure, I'll be right there. 15 minutes later, after giving Hannah some guidance, Alden catches sight of Marshall Green's name in his phone contacts. Marshall is an old college buddy turned lawyer. They usually talk about basketball or real estate investments, not domestic issues. Yet Alden's finger hovers over the call button, mind racing. Is it too soon to consult an attorney? He exhales, deciding to wait. He can't barge into legal territory with mere suspicion. Still, a voice in the back of his head reminds him, if Selena is planning something huge like leaving him, she could be collecting as much money as possible first. The rest of the afternoon drags. He tries to focus on engineering details, calculating tension loads, verifying stress points, but behind every number flickers a nagging question. Is my wife funneling our money toward another man or setting herself up to leave? Around 4 p.m., Rowan texts him. Dad, Mom, and Mira went shopping. Something about new clothes for Tokyo. You coming home soon? Alden replies, yes, be there by 6. You good? Rowan's quick response, yeah, just bored, see you. Leaning back, Alden stares at his office ceiling. He pictures Selena and Mira giggling over new outfits for a trip he funded, while a man named Cyrus is in the background. Alden's fist clenches involuntarily. He reminds himself, don't explode. Not yet. Gather facts, approach logically. That's how he's always solved problems like an engineer examining hairline cracks before the building collapses. The day ends and he tidies his desk. On his way out, he pauses by the large lobby windows, watching the sky shift from gray to a burnt orange. A single thought echoes. I can't afford to ignore the signs. If I do nothing, I'll lose everything. Stuffing his hands into his coat pockets, he heads for the elevator, mind churning with possibilities. He hasn't confronted Selena directly. Not yet. But the time will come soon enough. And when it does, the structure of their marriage might either be reinforced or it'll shatter beyond repair. Alden Harrington sat in his sedan, engine off, watching droplets slide down the windshield. Evening clouds turned Philadelphia's skyline into a gray silhouette. He'd left work early, telling his partner Garrett he had personal business. That wasn't exactly a lie, nor was it the full truth. He checked his phone once more. Selena had texted Mira that she'd be meeting a client for dinner near Old City. Mira passed that message along to Alden, her tone oddly casual. Yet after last night's growing suspicions, financial discrepancies, and the name Cyrus Mitchell flashing in his wife's phone, Alden decided to find out exactly who Selena's client was. 20 minutes later, his suspicion was confirmed. Through the restaurant's picture window, Alden saw Selena step inside wearing a fitted black jacket and jeans, her camera bag slung over one shoulder. She glanced around, then greeted a tall, broad-shouldered man. Alden didn't need a second guess. It had to be Cyrus Mitchell. The man wore a stylish navy blazer, his hair slicked back, and he moved with a confidence that bordered on arrogance. Alden slid lower in his seat. The smell of stale coffee lingered in the car, reminding him he'd been parked there for an hour. His heart pounded with a rhythm that felt entirely alien, part anger, part heartbreak. Despite the swirl of emotions, he raised his phone and snapped a photo through the rain-streaked windshield. The angle was poor, but it captured Selena leaning in close to Cyrus, the two exchanging warm smiles. Definitely not a simple business meeting. Rain pattered harder against the glass, as if urging him to storm in and demand answers. But Alden forced himself to remain still. He recalled his father's old saying from childhood, measure twice, cut once. Alden was an engineer. Collecting irrefutable evidence was second nature, Wild accusations would get him nowhere. Inside the restaurant, a waitress led Selena and Cyrus to a cozy corner table. Flickering candles reflected in the pane. Alden angled his phone, zooming in. He couldn't make out their words, but Selena's expression, her eyes bright, her posture relaxed, spoke volumes. Whatever emotional distance she showed at home, she wasn't showing it now. Minutes ticked by, and Alden realized his hands were shaking. Get it together, he thought. The plan: gather evidence, confirm the betrayal, then figure out his next move. He caught a better shot when Selena reached across the table to grasp Cyrus's hand. The next photo showed Cyrus leaning forward, whispering something that made her laugh. A sharp ache hit Alden's chest. Part of him wanted to barge in, but he knew that could end in a public scene. Instead, he scrolled to the voice recorder app on his phone. Opening the car window a crack, he pointed the device toward the restaurant's partially opened door, hoping to catch snippets of conversation. The rush of rain and occasional taxi horns bled into the recording, but he picked up scattered phrases, Cyrus's voice mentioning Tokyo, Selena saying something about the perfect moment to break things off. He swallowed hard. Break things off. So she was indeed planning to leave. The only question was when and how long had she plotted this. At length, the pair stood up to leave. Cyrus helped Selena slip into her coat, pressing a light kiss to her forehead. Alden's gut twisted in fury. He snapped another photo before ducking down behind the dashboard. The two walked out, talking in hushed tones, and parted under the restaurant's awning. Cyrus headed down the sidewalk toward a sleek black car, while Selena lingered at the curb, phone in hand. Maybe she was calling an Uber. Alden waited until Cyrus's headlights disappeared into the rainy gloom. Then he started his own engine, hands gripping the wheel. His reflection in the rearview mirror startled him, a man with clenched jaw and eyes burning with betrayal. He pulled onto the street, trailing Selena's car from a distance. When she reached an apartment building 3 blocks away, she parked, dashed inside for less than 5 minutes, then emerged looking tense, scanning the area as though she felt someone watching. Or maybe it was just guilt gnawing at her. He captured another quick photo as she climbed back into her car. Document everything, he reminded himself, though a cold voice in his mind asked why. Isn't this proof enough? But if there was more financial manipulations, hidden accounts, he needed a complete picture. Finally, Alden let her go. He pulled over to the curb, breathing in short, ragged bursts. The drizzle had slowed, but the storm inside him only raged harder. He had Cyrus's face, Selena's betrayal on camera. His chest tightened with sorrow and anger, but he steadied himself with the grim determination of a man used to reading blueprints. Follow the plan step by step and don't let the structure collapse around you. Selena returned home past 10 that night. The house was mostly dark, save for a single lamp in the living room. She tried to slip in quietly, but Alden was there, sipping tea with a look that pinned her in place. "Working late again?" he asked, his voice low. Her heart jolted. It felt like he could see right through her. "Yes," she answered, dropping her keys onto the side table. "I told you the studio's been packed with last-minute orders." A flimsy excuse, but it was all she managed. Alden nodded slowly. The silence that followed was thicker than any storm cloud. Finally he spoke, each word deliberate. "You meet any new clients?" She forced a casual shrug. "Just the usual. Why?" He set down his mug, looking at her over the rim of his glasses. "No reason. Thought maybe you met someone else for dinner. I saw your text to Mira said you'd be out possibly meeting a partner." Selena's pulse pounded in her temples. Was he fishing for a confession? "You're making it sound like something suspicious," she tried to joke, but her voice came out brittle. Alden simply gave a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. Before he could say more, Mira appeared in the hallway, phone in hand. "Mom, you're back. We were, worried." Her gaze flicked to Alden, then back to Selena. The tension was palpable. "I'm fine, sweetie," Selena replied, grateful for the distraction. "Just busy." From the stairway, Rowan hovered, watching them. He'd grown more observant lately, which unnerved Selena. She knew he sensed something was off. "I've got homework," Rowan muttered, retreating upstairs. Selena couldn't miss the hint of disapproval in his eyes. Mira lingered, biting her lip. "Mom, can we chat? In my room?" Selina nodded, shooting Alden a strained look before following her daughter. Once inside, Mira closed the door gently, turning to face Selina with concern etched on her features. "Mom, I don't mean to pry, but Dad's been acting different. And you've been distant. Is something going on?" Selina felt a hot flush creep across her cheeks. She recalled the dinner with Cyrus, his hand brushing hers, his soft words. "It's time." She swallowed. "I'm just juggling a lot right now, honeywork, the upcoming Japan trip." "Which Dad arranged?" Mira said softly. "You know he spent months saving up for that? He's really trying to fix things, I think." Selina's throat tightened. "I appreciate it, of course, but it's complicated." Mira studied her, uncertain whether to press. "Well, if you need someone to talk to, I'm here," she said gently. "I don't want to see either of you hurting." Selina couldn't muster a response. She just nodded, tears prickling at the edge of her eyes. It struck her that she was sliding deeper into a web of half-truths, lying to her husband, to her kids, to herself. As she turned to leave, Mira's voice stopped her. "Mom," her daughter murmured, "just be careful. Dad isn't clueless, okay?" Selina closed the door behind her, heart pounding. Downstairs, Alden's mug sat abandoned, the living room empty. She exhaled a shaky breath, torn between relief and guilt. She had no idea how long she could keep up this charade before everything crumbled. 2 days later, Alden climbed the worn steps to a modest office suite on the north side of downtown. The plaque on the door read, "Marshall Green, Attorney at Law." Outside, the sky threatened more rain, but the real storm was inside Alden's chest. He pushed open the door and found Marshall behind a cluttered desk. A stack of legal briefs and manila folders towered precariously next to a coffee cup stained with multiple rings. Marshall glanced up with mild surprise. "Alden? Didn't expect to see you here midweek. Everything okay?" Alden closed the door. "I need legal advice." "About what?" Marshall's light grin faded. "You look serious. This about a business deal gone bad?" Alden took a seat, gaze fixed on the piles of paper. "Not business," he murmured, voice low. "It's personal. My marriage." He paused, fighting the surge of frustration. "I have reason to believe Selina is involved with another man. Maybe more than involved. There are suspicious bank transactions, texts, late nights." Marshall leaned forward, the attorney instincts kicking in. "You suspect fraud or just adultery?" "Possibly both," Alden replied, pulling out his phone. He showed Marshall the pictures from the restaurant, the partial voice recordings with muffled references to Tokyo. "I caught them having dinner. She's been withdrawing money in small amounts, which is weird. The last thing I want is an ugly confrontation without proof, but I need to protect myself and my assets." Marshall flipped through the images, nodding grimly. "Okay, so you want to gather evidence in case of a divorce settlement." He tapped a pen against his desk. "Pennsylvania is an equitable distribution state. Infidelity can affect negotiation, especially if there's financial misconduct." Alden sighed. "I'm no expert on any of this. I just can't ignore what's happening. She's got me feeling like a fool and I don't even know how to approach it." Marshall shoved aside some folders, pulling out a fresh notepad. "Here's what I suggest. First, get detailed statements of all joint accounts. Document every suspicious withdrawal. Don't confront her until you know the full extent. Then, if it escalates," he hesitated, meeting Alden's eyes, "we'll prepare a legal strategy." The attorney's words grounded Alden in a grim sense of purpose. "Right. I'll do that." Marshall placed a comforting hand on Alden's shoulder. "Look, I know you. You're methodical, rational. Don't let emotions overshadow facts. Gather your data, then we can talk next steps." Alden exhaled. "Thanks, Marshall. I appreciate it." Outside, the afternoon had turned damp and overcast. Alden headed for his car, mind churning. He checked his phone for any new bank alerts, none so far. As he walked, he pictured Selina at home, laughing with Mira or planning something in secret. The sense of betrayal thickened, but he kept reminding himself, stay calm, gather evidence, protect what matters. A week passed in uneasy silence. Alden meticulously gathered every bank statement, cross-referencing each questionable withdrawal. He stayed polite to Selina, never confronting her directly, yet her attempts at conversation felt forced. Meanwhile, Mira grew restless, sensing the rift in the household while Rowan maintained a quiet wariness. Late one afternoon, Alden was in his makeshift study at home, reviewing spreadsheets of expenses. A flicker of frustration crossed his face. More unexplained charges at odd hours, like restaurant bills that didn't match receipts he found in the trash. His phone buzzed on the desk, snapping him out of his focus. It was a text from Mira. "Dad, I don't know how to say this, but Mom made new arrangements for the Japan trip. She gave your spot to someone else. She wants me to keep quiet, but I can't. I'm sorry. She deserves happiness, but this is messed up. I just wanted you to know." Alden read the message twice, heat flooding his veins. A swirl of disbelief and fury rose in him. She deserves happiness. That line cut deep, implying his own role was disposable. So Selena was openly planning for Cyrus to replace him on a trip he had fully financed. Was that even possible? He stared at the phone, knuckles whitening around it. He typed a reply. "Got it." Just 2 words, but they carried a finality that felt like a hammer blow. With a trembling breath, he set the phone down. All the caution, the measured steps, none of it prepared him for the stark reality that she would brazenly remove him from a family trip. This was more than an affair. It was a complete rewrite of their life, with him as the clueless outsider. In the hallway, he heard Rowan's door creak. His son must have sensed something was off, but Alden didn't have the energy to explain. Rage and heartbreak clashed in his chest. The old self, the mild-mannered engineer, wanted to remain calm, but now he felt that calm cracking. He glanced again at Mira's text, the words, "She deserves happiness," searing into his mind. Maybe so, but he also deserved respect, or at least honesty. Without those, the marriage was nothing but a fragile facade. He opened the bank statement. Warm morning light filtered through the windows of Alden Harrington's home office, but his mood was far from bright. The day had come time for decisive action. He stared at his laptop screen, reviewing the itinerary for the Japan trip he'd meticulously planned and paid for. The airline confirmation blinked in front of him as if mocking his earlier optimism. Taking a steadying breath, he dialed the airline's customer service. After confirming his identity with the booking code, he calmly spoke, "Yes, I want to cancel all flights under that reservation." The agent on the line sounded puzzled. "May I ask the reason, sir?" Alden swallowed, holding back bitterness. "Family emergency." He left it at that. Next, he canceled the hotel reservations and the specialized tours, everything that made the trip special. Each time, cancellation fees appeared on his screen. He paid them without hesitation, methodically ensuring Selena had no route to salvage the trip using his funds. Once done, he logged into the joint credit card portal. He reduced the spending limit on Selena's card to a negligible amount. Then, he suspended her access to their primary checking accounts, freezing the assets per legal guidance from Marshall Green. "This is for my own protection," Alden reminded himself. By the time he finished, sweat dampened the collar of his button-up. He'd never felt so conflicted in his life. Half of him relished asserting control. The other half reeled at the stark realization that his marriage was irreparably fractured. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. He answered curtly, "Hello?" It was Garrett Vermeil, his partner at the engineering firm. "Hey, Alden, you were supposed to sign off on those beam calculations today. Everything okay?" Alden inhaled. "Got pulled into personal matters. I'll finalize them by tomorrow." Garrett hesitated. "All right. You sound different. Need anything?" "I'm good," Alden replied, though the lie tasted bitter. "Just trust me on this." After hanging up, Alden texted Rowan, "Pack what you need quickly. I'll explain at home tonight." He didn't detail why, only that their living situation was about to change. An hour later, he locked up the house and drove downtown. He needed to deposit certain checks into an account solely under his name. The entire drive, his mind buzzed with one question. How will Selena, Mira, and Cyrus react once they realize the trip is dead? That afternoon, while Alden was reviewing legal documents with Marshall Green, the inevitable drama unfolded at Philadelphia International Airport. Selena, wearing a stylish trench coat, arrived with Mira and Cyrus in tow. Suitcases in hand, they approached the check-in counter, only to learn the tickets had been canceled. At first, Selina assumed there was a mix-up. She frantically typed messages to Alden, no response. Cyrus muttered curses under his breath. The clerk insisted there were no valid flights under their names. The next blow came when Selina attempted to use her credit card to buy new tickets denied. "Mom," Mira whispered, panic flaring in her eyes. "What's going on? Dad isn't answering." Cyrus's jaw clenched so tightly his cheeks twitched. "We can't just stand here," he snapped, voice low so eavesdroppers wouldn't overhear. "Try calling him. Again." Selina dialed 3 times. Each went straight to voicemail. A sense of dread curled in her stomach. She replayed scenes in her head, Alden's suspicious glances, the text Mira had sent behind her back, the freeze in his eyes lately. He must have done this on purpose. "Let's step aside," Selina murmured, leading them away from the counter. Mira's face flushed. "I'm sorry, Mom, but I couldn't lie to Dad anymore. I told him you gave his spot away." Cyrus stared at her in disbelief. "Mira, why would you?" Selina hushed him, tears threatening. "Stop, we'll figure it out." But even she didn't quite believe her own words. Attempts to reach Alden proved futile. Her phone rattled with automated bank notifications, each cryptic message hinting that accounts were locked or funds transferred. Desperation tinged her voice as she asked a passing airline representative for help, but there was no miracle fix. The flight was gone. The trip was a ghost. Their once grand plan for a dream vacation and Selina's private plan to break free had evaporated in a single morning. The eyes of travelers, employees, and passers-by seemed to silently judge them. With no alternative, the trio gathered their luggage and left the airport with a sense of growing panic. "He's shutting us out completely," Selina realized. Yet as they trudged to the parking lot, she couldn't quite conjure the outrage she expected to feel. Part of her was angry, but another part was dreadfully aware that Alden's precision was always unstoppable once he decided on a course of action. Late that evening, a heavy drizzle soaked the Harrington family's front porch. Alden stood outside with a locksmith named Freddie Albright, a wiry man in a baseball cap. Freddie fiddled with a brand-new deadbolt, giving Alden a reassuring nod. "I'll have this replaced in no time, Mr. Harrington." Alden's face was set in grim lines. "Change every exterior lock, including the back doors and the basement entrance. Spare no detail." Freddie hesitated, noticing Alden's tension. "You sure about this? Usually folks rekey locks after a break and not—" "It's necessary," Alden cut in, voice calm but final. They worked systematically. Each old lock was removed, replaced with a new, high-security model. The sound of metal scraping echoed under the porch lights. Inside the house, Rowan paced nervously among scattered boxes. Alden had told him they'd be relocating soon, though he'd withheld the exact place to ensure secrecy. An unexpected figure approached, umbrella in hand. Carmen Bentley, Selina's longtime friend. She wore a concerned expression, her bangs sticking to her forehead from the drizzle. "Alden!" she called out, stepping onto the porch. "What's going on? Why are you changing locks?" Freddie glanced at Alden, uncertain whether to stop his work. Alden gave a slight shrug to indicate it was okay. Then he turned to Carmen. "If Selina didn't tell you, I'm telling you now. I own this property solely. I'm making security changes." Carmen's eyes widened. "So it's true. Selina said you canceled the Japan trip. Now this?" Alden crossed his arms. "She forfeited my goodwill. I'm exercising my rights." Carmen swallowed hard. "She's distraught. I don't think lights washed the street as a patrol car pulled up. 2 uniformed officers stepped out, apparently responding to a disturbance call." Carmen raised a brow. "You called the police?" Alden shook his head, glancing around. "Not me. Maybe Selina's mother or one of the neighbors. I saw them peeking out the windows earlier." Sure enough, one of the officers approached. "We got a call about a possible break-in?" Alden motioned to the locksmith's tools. "No break-in, officer. I'm the owner and I'm replacing my own locks. Here." He promptly provided his ID and property deed copies as recommended by Marshal Green. The officer checked them carefully, then nodded. "All right, ma'am, you are—" The officer asked Carmen. "Just a family friend," she replied quietly. "He's not breaking in." The officer confirmed everything was legitimate and returned to the patrol car, departing without incident. Carmen turned back to Alden, her voice hushed. "You realize this is going to escalate everything. She can't even get into her own house now?" Alden's jaw tightened. "It's not her house legally, it's mine. She can come back with a lawyer, but I'm done letting her do whatever she wants behind my back." A flash of lightning illuminated the street, followed by the low rumble of thunder. Freddie finished installing the final deadbolt. "That's it, Mr. Harrington," he said, testing the key. "Everything's brand new. Only you have copies." Alden paid him, then turned to Carmen. "Tell Selena if she needs to retrieve personal items, she can coordinate through an attorney. I won't deny her that. But I'll be present." Carmen opened her mouth to argue, but the look in Alden's eyes chilled her. "Fine," she said at last, stepping off the porch. "Just watch yourself, Alden. This is war, now." He watched her disappear into the rainy darkness, then closed the door behind him. Through the front window, he saw Rowan standing silently in the hall, shoulders tense. Alden set the new lock with a satisfying click. War indeed. And he intended to win. 2 days later, Alden pulled into a quiet street lined with modest row homes. He parked in front of a small 2-story house with peeling paint on the shutters. Rowan, in the passenger seat, surveyed the area. "This is the place, Dad?" he asked skeptically. Alden nodded, stepping out. A crisp autumn breeze brushed past them. He led Rowan up the short walkway, unlocking the door to reveal a sparsely furnished interior. "I bought it 3 years ago under my name alone, mostly as an investment," Alden explained. "Never told your mom. Just felt I needed a fallback." Rowan walked through the living room, noting the faint scent of fresh paint. A single couch, a couple of mismatched chairs, and some dusty boxes stacked along one wall. It was nothing like their grand home, but it had potential. "Why'd you keep it secret?" Alden hesitated, pushing a box aside. "Let's just say I wanted to protect our finances. I never expected to need it as a refuge from my own family." They hauled in some suitcases from the car, mostly Rowan's essentials, plus some of Alden's clothes and documents. Much of their old life remained in the other house, but Alden intended to retrieve it bit by bit, carefully. He didn't want any sudden confrontations with Selena. Inside the smaller kitchen, a rattling old fridge hummed. Alden checked the electricity and water supply. Satisfied everything worked, he turned to Rowan, a lump forming in his throat. "Look, son, I'm sorry it came to this. I didn't expect our family to break apart." Rowan's expression was pained, yet resolute. "I don't agree with what Mom did or how Mira went along, but I never imagined we'd be here." A knock sounded at the door. Alden tensed, quickly crossing the living room. Through the peephole, he saw Marshall Green holding a file. Relieved, Alden opened up. Marshall stepped in, wiping away a trace of rain from his coat. "Hey, looks like you beat me here." "Just moved in," Alden said simply. "So, any updates?" The lawyer exhaled. "Plenty. We've documented all those suspicious withdrawals and your photo evidence of Selena with Cyrus. It's more than enough to file for divorce under claims of adultery and possible financial misconduct, but it's your call when to pull the trigger." Rowan lingered nearby, glancing at Marshall. "What happens next?" Marshall offered a sympathetic nod. "If your dad decides to proceed, Selena will be served with papers. She'll have a chance to respond. Things could get messy in court. But from what I see, we have strong grounds to protect your father's assets." Alden's gaze flicked around the modest living room. It was a far cry from the life he once pictured for himself. Yet a grim satisfaction settled in him. He had a plan and a safe spot. "File the papers," he said quietly. "We've crossed the point of no return." Marshall patted his shoulder. "I'll get started. Stay reachable, Alden." After the lawyer left, Rowan approached, eyes uncertain. "Dad, are we going to be okay?" Alden mustered a small smile. "We'll manage. You trust me, right?" Rowan paused, then nodded. "Yeah, Dad, I trust you." Those words, simple but sincere, eased the pressure in Alden's chest. For now, at least, he and Rowan were on the same page. He locked the front door of their new hideaway and flicked on a lamp, determined to rebuild whatever was left of their family, even if it was just the two of them. Meanwhile, Selena and Mira found themselves stuck in a cramped motel off a busy suburban highway. The flickering neon sign outside read Carmichael Inn, and the musty corridor carried the smell of stale cigarettes. For 2 days, they'd tried every credit card Selena possessed. Each was flagged or declined. Furious and exhausted, Cyrus had chipped in the last of his available cash, but it barely covered a handful of nights. "Mom, this place is—" Mira hesitated, glancing at the stained carpet. "Kind of depressing." Selena ran a hand through her hair. "I know, but your father's blocked us out of everything." She'd called half a dozen banks only to hit legal holds and frozen accounts. Alden's thoroughness left her reeling. Cyrus paced near the window, glowering at the traffic noise outside. "We never should have left the airport. We could have tried to contact someone, book other flights. I had enough saved up if we pooled resources." He shot a glare at Selena. "But then your cards got blocked and your secret stash, well, that's tied up in you-know-where." Mira frowned, stepping between them. "Stop blaming each other. We need a real plan. Dad's obviously going scorched earth." Selena sank onto the bed, eyes stinging with tears. She couldn't get rid of the gnawing guilt. She'd convinced herself she deserved freedom from Alden's distant, work-obsessed manner, but the sight of this dingy motel, the fear in her daughter's eyes, told her she'd grossly underestimated Alden's capacity for retaliation. A tentative knock sounded on the door. Mira opened it to reveal a tired-looking hotel clerk, Mr. Wainwright, who politely requested an update on their payment for the week. Cyrus rummaged in his wallet, pulling out a few crumpled bills. It was clear they were almost out of funds. Mr. Wainwright eyed them sympathetically. "Look, folks, I can give you one more night if you're short. But after that, I have to ask you to leave." As he left, Cyrus let out a heavy sigh. "We have to figure something out, Selena. Talk to a lawyer, or—" Selena stared at the chipped paint on the wall. The enormity of her predicament felt crushing. "I can't reach Alden, and Carmen says he changed the locks. If we show up at the house, it could get ugly." She blinked at Mira, voice trembling. "I'm sorry, honey. I never meant for you to see all this." Mira's own eyes were damp, but she squared her shoulders. "We made mistakes, but we're not helpless. We can't just hide here forever. We need to fight back." Cyrus nodded, though frustration twisted his features. "If Alden wants war, we'll give him one. Let's talk to a lawyer. Selena, you must have contacts, right? Maybe your old friend from the photography network?" She pressed her palms to her temples, mind churning. She couldn't fully blame Alden for protecting himself, but it stung to see how swiftly he dismantled her financial footing. He planned all this. He must have known for a while. The thought sent a chill down her spine. Rising to her feet, Selena grabbed her phone with renewed determination. "All right, we'll figure something out. Talk to an attorney. But first, let me see if Carmen has any leads or a couch we can crash on." Mira let out a shaky breath, relief mingling with dread. "We can't let Dad crush us like this." Cyrus stopped pacing. "Then let's not. We'll regroup, gather whatever we can, and push back." Outside the motel window, the neon sign flickered against the dark sky. The cheap lodging, the uneasy tension. Selena realized this was her new reality, unless she found a way to turn the tables. Alden had struck the first blow, but she'd be damned if she let him win without a fight. Late afternoon sunlight streamed into a cramped second-floor office where Selena Caldwell and Cyrus Mitchell sat across from a wiry private investigator named Leon Decker. Papers covered Decker's cluttered desk, along with an old brass lamp that cast harsh shadows on the wall. A portable fan whirred in the corner, failing to dispel the summer heat. "So," Decker said, tapping a pen on his notepad, "you want me to dig up dirt on your husband, Alden Harrington?" Selena folded her arms, shoulders stiff. "He's not exactly my husband right now. He's—" She paused, exchanging a look with Cyrus. "He's forcing me out of my own home, freezing my finances. I need leverage." Cyrus leaned forward, voice edged with frustration. "We believe Alden's controlling, maybe even abusive, mentally at least. He's made her life hell. We want the truth exposed." Decker raised an eyebrow. "You got any proof? Or do you just suspect it?" Selena pressed her lips together. "He's always been distant, but this has escalated. He canceled our flight tickets, changed the locks, cut off our funds." She slid a few photos across the desk, grainy phone shots of the new locks on the Harrington home, plus a screenshot of her frozen account notifications. We're hoping you can uncover more. Maybe he's done shady dealings at his company, or he's manipulated business partners. Something to show he's the real problem here. Decker nodded slowly. I can run background checks, talk to people, see if there's a skeleton hidden. But if he's squeaky clean, that might be tough. Also, I'll need a retainer. Cyrus exhaled, rifling through his wallet. We're short on cash right now, but I can give you half. Once we get results, we can pay the rest. Selena scrolled through her phone, eyes flickering with desperation. If we find anything, we leak it to the right people, maybe his corporate board, the legal authorities. Alden's not the saint everyone thinks he is. Decker scribbled something. All right, but fair warning. Sometimes these cases don't yield the fireworks you expect. Harrington's record might be clean. We'll see, Cyrus muttered. Just do your job. We need ammunition. They left Decker's office with no guarantee but a faint glimmer of hope that some scandal might level the playing field. As they walked outside into the sticky summer air, Selena's phone buzzed. A message from Carmen Bentley read, We need to talk. People at your old studio are asking questions. Also, the rumors about Alden are out there. Call me. Selena stuffed the phone in her pocket. She turned to Cyrus. Guess Carmen's hearing we started telling people about Alden's controlling side. Her throat tightened. I hate stooping to rumors, but what choice do we have? Cyrus shrugged, glancing around. He launched the first strike, canceling everything, humiliating us at the airport. We're just hitting back. Yet Selena couldn't shake a pang of guilt. She remembered Alden's quiet devotion from their early years, how meticulously he'd once planned her birthday parties, how he'd supported her photography business. But that was long before he froze me out. She firmed her jaw, pushing nostalgia aside. Come on, she said, stepping off the curb into the bustle of downtown traffic. We have a war to fight. A week later, the atmosphere in Philadelphia Family Court was stifling. White walls and fluorescent lights gave the halls a sterile feel. Alden Harrington sat on a wooden bench outside the courtroom, flipping through documents. Beside him, Marshall Green adjusted his tie, keeping an eye on the door. You ready? Marshall asked quietly. Alden's jaw tensed. As ready as I'll ever be, but I'd rather be anywhere else. Just then, Selena appeared with Cyrus trailing behind her. She wore a navy blazer that hung loosely on her frame, a sign of recent stress. Her eyes flicked to Alden with a mix of resentment and unease. Cyrus offered Alden a thin, mocking smirk before following Selena's attorney, Marjorie Lakewood, into the courtroom. Minutes later, they faced the judge in a preliminary hearing. The wood-paneled room echoed with hushed murmurs. Judge Leonard Bryant, a stern man with steel-gray hair, rapped his gavel lightly. We're here for Miss Selena Caldwell's motion regarding financial restraint and alleged emotional abuse. Miss Caldwell, please present. Marjorie cleared her throat. Your Honor, my client has been subjected to coercive control. Mr. Harrington has unilaterally frozen marital accounts, replaced locks on the family home, and effectively left Miss Caldwell destitute. This is psychological abuse at best. Selena lowered her gaze, nodding in emphasis as Marjorie spoke. Cyrus, seated behind her, crossed his arms defiantly. Alden felt his chest tighten. Coercive control? Psychological abuse? He shot Marshall a look, and the lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client took these measures only after discovering extensive financial misconduct by Miss Caldwell. Marjorie cut in. That's unproven. We see no documents showing Miss Caldwell misused funds. She withdrew marital money she's entitled to. Meanwhile, Mr. Harrington's actions, like canceling the Japan trip, reek of retaliation. Judge Bryant frowned. Mr. Green, do you have anything to substantiate these allegations of misconduct? Marshall calmly passed a folder to the clerk. Yes, Your Honor. We have photographic evidence of Miss Caldwell's affair with Mr. Cyrus Mitchell, plus suspicious transactions. My client's forensic accountant flagged numerous unaccounted cash withdrawals leading up to Miss Caldwell's attempt to replace him on their family trip. A flush crept up Selena's neck. Cyrus shifted uncomfortably but held his glare. The judge scanned a few pages, nodding slowly. I see. And the house ownership documentation? Marshall supplied another set of papers. Title is solely in Alden Harrington's name, purchased before the marriage was formalized. He had every right to rekey the locks. Marjorie's lips tightened. That doesn't negate the intimidation factor, Your Honor. Judge Bryant leaned back, tapping a pen against the bench. This is clearly a contentious situation. However, from the documents provided, I'm not inclined to grant Miss Caldwell unrestricted access to Mr. Harrington's assets. For now, the freeze on the joint accounts remains until we have a deeper financial review. He paused, eyeing both parties. I suggest you attempt mediation, but we'll set a subsequent hearing. Meanwhile, Miss Caldwell, you may remain off the property unless accompanied by law enforcement or legal counsel. That's the best compromise I can offer at this stage. A clang of the gavel signaled the end of the session. Alden released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Selina looked shell-shocked, while Cyrus muttered something about biased courts. Outside, in the courthouse corridor, Alden and Marshall regrouped. We survived that round, Marshall said. The judge is upholding your freeze, at least temporarily. Alden nodded, relief mingling with the hollow ache of facing Selina in court. But it's not over, he murmured. They'll come at me harder. Marshall patted his shoulder. We'll be prepared. Trust me. Across the hallway, Selina watched them with narrowed eyes. Cyrus spoke heatedly to Marjorie, gesturing toward Alden as if planning the next strike. Round one concluded, but the battle was just beginning. Late that evening, Alden sat with Marshall in the lawyer's cramped conference room, fluorescent lights casting an unflattering glare. Rowan waited outside, thumbing through a paperback novel. A stack of documents lay spread across the table, and Marshall keyed a few terms into his laptop. Here, Marshall said, turning the screen so Alden could see. This is the bank statement flagged by our forensic accountant. Seems Selina opened an overseas account 6 months ago under the name Selina Caldwell. Alden's eyes widened. I've never heard about that. She never mentioned any overseas finances. Are we sure it's real? Marshall nodded. Looks legit. From what we've gathered, multiple transfers went into that account, some from the joint funds you share. Not huge chunks at once, but they add up. I estimate around 90 grand in total. 90,000. The number made Alden's heart pound. She must have planned this for a while, siphoning small amounts so I wouldn't notice. Marshall sighed. Yes, and that suggests premeditation, possibly aligning with her plan to leave the marriage. It supports your position in court, but we need the actual statements to prove it. Alden sank back into the conference chair, mind racing. How do we get them? Marshall shrugged. Subpoena power. We'll request the judge allow it. But once Selina realizes we're onto the offshore account, she might scramble to hide it further. Frustration coiled in Alden's chest. She was going to uproot our entire life, move with Cyrus. That must have been the money they'd live on. Marshall tapped a pen against the table. We also can't ignore what this might do to her legal standing. Hiding assets is no minor detail. The judge won't look kindly on it. Alden nodded, half relieved at the advantage, half sickened by the betrayal's magnitude. Our marriage was a lie, crumbling piece by piece. As they wrapped up the discussion, Rowan peeked in. Dad? It's getting late. Everything okay? Alden managed a tight smile, meeting his son's worried gaze. We just found out your mother hid an overseas account. He regretted the bluntness as soon as the words left his mouth, but Rowan had grown adept at reading between lines. No point lying. Rowan's eyes flickered with hurt and anger. I can't believe this. Marshall cleared his throat gently. We'll handle it legally. Don't let it consume you, Rowan. This is between your parents and the court. Outside, in the deserted parking lot, Alden and Rowan walked under the glow of street lamps. Rowan kicked a loose pebble. So, she's been lying to all of us? Alden swallowed the bitterness in his throat. It seems that way. I'm sorry, son. I wish it weren't true. The night air felt cool against Alden's flushed skin. He remembered Selina's vows, her excitement when they first bought the house, her creative spark, now overshadowed by hidden accounts and months of deception. We can't go back, he thought bleakly. We can only move forward. The next week brought a torrential wave of problems for Selina. She stood on the sidewalk outside her beloved photography studio, heart twisting as she read the eviction notice tacked to the door. Overdue rent, zero tolerance. The landlord, a stern older woman named Patricia Harden, emerged from the adjacent corridor. "Selina, I'm sorry," Patricia said, voice edged with exasperation. "You stopped paying rent after your accounts got frozen. I can't keep letting it slide." Selina's fingers trembled. "Patricia, please, my finances are locked up in a legal dispute. I just need a little more time." Patricia shook her head sadly. "I have bills too, and the property manager won't budge. I can't risk my own livelihood." With that, she turned away, leaving Selina staring at the closed studio door she once thought would catapult her career into the big leagues. Down the street, Cyrus paced anxiously, phone pressed to his ear. He'd lost 2 potential photography contracts after rumors spread that he was embroiled in a high-profile marital scandal. No, he argued into the phone. "I can handle any project you have. My personal life shouldn't matter, hello?" The call ended abruptly. He let out a frustrated groan. That evening, under the flickering motel lamp still stuck at the Carmichael Inn, Selina tried to contact a few potential clients. Most politely declined, referencing the controversies swirling around her name. One mentioned a rumor of financial impropriety. Another alluded to ongoing legal drama. Each refusal was another blow. Her breathing grew ragged. Darkness crowded her vision. The stress of losing her studio, the offshore account exposure, and ongoing tension with Alden all closed in. She felt lightheaded, heart thumping erratically. "Selina?" Cyrus asked, alarmed at her pallor. She stood abruptly, then staggered back. Panic clamped her chest like a vice. Mira rushed over, guiding her mother to the bed. "I can't breathe," Selina whispered, tears slipping down her cheeks. She'd had anxiety flare-ups before, but never this intense. Her head spun. Cyrus cursed under his breath, fumbling for his phone. "I'm calling an ambulance." Before Selina could protest, blackness swept in, and she collapsed. Panic exploded in Mira's wide eyes as she cradled her mother's limp body. The drab motel room blurred with the swirl of paramedics who arrived minutes later, hooking Selina up to oxygen, checking her vitals, and loading her onto a gurney. In the hospital's fluorescent corridor, Cyrus and Mira hovered in plastic chairs, waiting for a doctor's update. Mira's tears fell silently. Cyrus stared at the floor, wrestling with guilt and anger. He blamed Alden for pushing Selina to the brink, but part of him feared they'd overplayed their hand. Eventually, a nurse emerged. "She's stable, just had an acute anxiety attack," the nurse explained gently. "We'll keep her overnight for observation." Mira exhaled relief. Cyrus closed his eyes. Their carefully orchestrated campaign against Alden was collapsing under the weight of real-life consequences. No money, no studio, and Selina at her breaking point. As they followed the nurse down the hall, a single question loomed. Had they started a battle they couldn't possibly win? A warm summer morning bathed the gray stone facade of the Philadelphia family court in soft light. Inside, a hushed tension filled the corridor where Alden Harrington stood with his lawyer, Marshall Green. Their footsteps echoed across the polished floor as they headed to the large double doors leading to the main courtroom. Today was the day of formal divorce trial that would decide everything from finances to property. Alden adjusted his tie, glancing over to see Rowan perched on a hallway bench, flipping through a textbook. The teen looked up and offered a wavering smile. "You got this, Dad." Behind them, Mira lingered with shoulders hunched. She had insisted on coming, despite her conflicting loyalties. Her gaze flicked anxiously toward the opposite side of the corridor, where Selina Caldwell, her mother, stood with folded arms and tired eyes. Next to Selina, Cyrus Mitchell hovered, though his once confident demeanor had eroded into anxious pacing. "All rise," a clerk called out once they entered the courtroom. The judge, Richard McAllister, settled behind the bench, thick file in front of him. Spectators, mostly curious onlookers, and a couple of local journalists shifted in their seats. The tension crackled like static electricity. The opening statements began. Marjorie Lakewood, Selina's attorney, argued that Selina deserved a fair split of marital assets, claiming Alden's controlling attitude and insistence on restricting her freedom had driven her to emotional despair. Selina nodded grimly, occasionally glancing at Cyrus with a look that said, "We have to win this." Then Marshall rose, calm and methodical. He presented records of Selina's offshore account, screenshots detailing suspicious withdrawals, and photos capturing her intimate meetings with Cyrus. Each piece of evidence painted a damning portrait of deceit and financial misconduct. Facing Selina on the stand, Marshall's questions were direct. "When you opened the account under your maiden name, Miss Caldwell, were you planning to inform your husband of its existence?" Selina hesitated, voice trembling. "I needed a safety net. Alden never let me—" "Objection," Marjorie interrupted. "Speculative." Marshall continued, unbothered. "The account currently holds over $90,000. That's not pocket change. Did you intend to share that with Mr. Harrington before relocating?" Selina's gaze dropped to her lap. "I wanted my freedom. He never gave me any." Judge McAllister studied her expression. "You'll have a chance to clarify, Miss Caldwell, but be advised, hidden assets in divorce proceedings are a serious matter." A flush crept up Selina's neck. After a pause, she mumbled, "I only took what I thought I deserved." When Alden took the stand, Marshall led him through each piece of documentation: how Selina had siphoned funds, how she replaced him on the Japan trip with Cyrus, and how he discovered the messages. Despite Marjorie's attempts to cast him as an overbearing spouse, Alden remained composed, responding with quiet dignity that drew subtle nods from some onlookers. At one point, Selina's argument that "I want to be free, he won't let me" sounded hollow compared to the tangible evidence of her orchestrated financial deception. Judge McAllister's frown deepened each time Marjorie tried to paint Alden as controlling without solid proof. By mid-afternoon, closing statements wrapped up. A hush fell as the judge cleared his throat. "I find Miss Caldwell's actions, particularly regarding the offshore account, to be deliberate concealment of marital assets. While emotional factors are considered in family court, the financial irregularities weigh heavily here. I will make my ruling in the next session, but I'm leaning toward Mr. Harrington's position, given the evidence." A subdued murmur passed through the courtroom. Selina bowed her head. Cyrus visibly paled. Alden glanced at Rowan and Mira, relief mingling with sadness at how publicly their family had splintered. Exiting the courtroom, Alden felt the burn of Selina's stare. She whispered under her breath, "This is your victory?" Then she turned away, as though even looking at him pained her. Meanwhile, Cyrus muttered something about the system being rigged and strode off, ignoring Mira's wounded expression. Outside, Rowan moved to Alden's side. That was intense. Mira trailed behind, biting her lip. She didn't speak, but her eyes glistened with regret. Alden offered her a brief nod of acknowledgement. It's almost over, he thought, though a hollow ache told him the real aftermath was just beginning. A week later, a thunderstorm hammered Philadelphia's downtown. Raindrops pelted the courthouse steps as Alden arrived for the final ruling. Inside, the courtroom felt even more crowded, word having spread about the dramatic revelation of hidden offshore funds. Soft whispers filled the air until Judge McAllister entered. "This court has reviewed the complete financial profile of both parties," he began, glancing between Selina and Alden. "We find Miss Caldwell's concealment of assets to be significant. As a result, equitable distribution will strongly favor Mr. Harrington. Miss Caldwell shall receive a limited portion, reflecting only her documented contributions minus the amount siphoned." A sharp intake of breath sounded from Selina. Cyrus looked like he'd been punched in the gut. Judge McAllister continued, "Regarding allegations of emotional abuse, the court sees insufficient grounds. Missy Caldwell's claims do not outweigh the evidence of her financial misconduct. Therefore, Mr. Harrington retains the primary asset, the Harrington home, while Miss Caldwell is awarded a nominal settlement. This divorce is granted, effectively immediately." Alden exhaled, shoulders dropping with relief. A swirl of applause broke out among a few spectators, quickly shushed by a bailiff. Selina sank into her chair, face pale. Outside in the corridor, Cyrus abruptly turned to Selina. "I'm done," his voice shook with anger. "You said you had a plan. Now I'm facing potential investigations, lost my contracts, and I'm drowning in legal fees. We're over." He stormed off, leaving Selina standing alone. "Mira, tears streaking her cheeks, hurried after him. "Cyrus, wait!" But he vanished down a stairwell, ignoring her pleas. Defeated, she turned back, seeing Alden and Rowan across the hallway. Alden gently laid a hand on Rowan's shoulder. The teen stared at his mother with quiet disappointment. Mira slowly approached, voice trembling. "Dad, I'm sorry. I never meant for all this to happen." Alden nodded, struggling for words. He could see genuine remorse in her eyes. "We'll talk later," he said softly. Rowan just shook his head, uncertain how to face his sister. Selina remained near the courtroom doors, her expression a mess of bitterness and heartbreak. In the end, her illusions had shattered. Cyrus gone, finances in ruin and public humiliation, all for a dream of escape that never truly crystallized. As thunder rumbled overhead, Alden and his children made their way out the courthouse entrance, leaving Selina behind to absorb the magnitude of her defeat. The sky cracked open with a flash of lightning, matching the finality of the judge's gavel. "It's over," Alden thought, but the pieces need picking up. Late the next afternoon, Carmen Bentley walked through the sterile hallway of Rivergate Medical Center, clutching a small bouquet of white lilies. She reached a private patient room where Selina lay propped against pillows, eyes drifting toward the window as rain spattered the glass. The verdict and subsequent meltdown had been too much. Her anxiety spiked again, landing her in the hospital for observation. "Selina," Carmen said softly, stepping in, "brought you some flowers." She set them on a side table, scanning Selina's weary face. "How are you feeling?" Selina forced a bitter laugh. "I've been better. Never expected to lose everything in a single day." Carmen pulled up a chair, resting a hand on Selina's arm. "I tried warning you that Alden was no pushover. You told me you wanted freedom. But maybe—" She paused, choosing her words. "Maybe you should accept reality now, start from scratch." Selina swallowed hard, tears pooling at the corners of her eyes. "You don't understand. I thought I was trapped in a loveless marriage. Cyrus promised me a new life, said we could build something better. Instead, I ended up destroying what I had and losing him anyway." Carmen sighed. "I understand you felt neglected by Alden, but the route you took it backfired. Hard. Maybe it's time to focus on rebuilding, not blaming." A shaky breath escaped Selina's lips. "I keep replaying it in my head. The offshore account, lying to Alden, letting Cyrus sweet-talk me into betrayal. And now I'm here. No home, no studio, no relationship." The door opened and Mira appeared, holding a small bag of groceries. She hesitated, eyes flicking to Carmen. "Can we talk alone, Mom?" Carmen squeezed Selina's hand. "I'll give you 2 space. Text me if you need anything." She slipped out quietly, leaving mother and daughter face to face. Mira set the bag on a stand, fiddling with its handles. "How are you doing?" Selina shrugged, tears threatening again. "I'm alive. Might be released tomorrow." An awkward silence stretched. Finally, Mira burst out. "I'm sorry I told Dad about the Japan trip switch, but I couldn't lie anymore. This whole thing spiraled so fast." Selina nodded, throat tight. "I don't blame you. I was the one lying to everyone. I convinced myself it was my best chance at happiness." A sob escaped her. "I never meant to hurt you or Rowan." Mira's own tears welled. "Then why, Mom? Why risk it all?" Selina looked away, struggling to articulate. "I felt invisible at home. Alden was so wrapped up in engineering projects I wanted passion, a fresh start. But I see now it wasn't just him ignoring me. I also never voiced my frustrations properly. I took the worst route possible." Mira exhaled, wiping her cheeks. "I still love you, Mom, but it's going to take time to forgive everything." Selina closed her eyes, bracing for the sting. "I know. Once I'm out, I'll find a small place, try to rebuild my studio if possible, or maybe do something else entirely. Carmen said I should start from zero." They sat in fragile silence, thunder faintly rumbling outside. Mira gently reached for her mother's hand. "I won't abandon you, but Dad needs me right now, Rowan too. They're pretty hurt." Selina nodded solemnly. "I understand." She forced a tight smile. "Thank you for visiting. It means more than you know." Mira leaned over, hugging her mother lightly. The tension lingered, but a slender thread of love persisted. In the aftermath of betrayal, mother and daughter found themselves fractured yet unwilling to sever ties entirely. As Mira left, Selena stared at the raindrops sliding down the window, each droplet a bittersweet reminder of what she'd lost, and maybe, just maybe, a chance to start anew. 2 days later, Alden paced across the modest living room in his new home. Late afternoon sunlight gleamed through half-drawn curtains, reflecting off the sparse furniture. This space, once a secret investment, now felt like the heart of his rebuilt life. Stacks of legal documents lay on a side table, final divorce papers, property deeds, and financial statements. Rowan was in the kitchenette making grilled cheese sandwiches, the sizzle of butter faintly audible. A knock came at the door. Alden opened it to find Mira standing there with a small duffel bag in hand, eyes downcast. "Hi," she said softly. "Can I come in?" He stepped aside. "Of course." Mira entered, noticing the neat but minimal decor. "So this is your new place. Cozy," she murmured, half smiling. Then her expression sobered. "I wanted to talk to both of you." Rowan poked his head out from the kitchen. "We have extra sandwiches if you're hungry," he offered, tension hidden in an attempt at normalcy. Mira nodded gratefully and sat on the living room couch. After an awkward moment, she spoke. "Dad, I messed up. I helped Mom when she was planning to replace you on the trip. I said things like she deserves happiness. But I see now how unfair that was to you." Alden took a seat across from her, leaning forward. "Mira, I understand you were trying to protect her. You're still my daughter, always will be." Her eyes brimmed with tears. "She's in the hospital recovering from anxiety. I've visited, but she's going to need time to rebuild. As for me, I'd like to stay here, at least for a while. I'm not sure about college plans or anything, but I know I want to fix things with you and Rowan." Rowan came over, handing her a sandwich plate. He managed a small smile. "We can't fix it overnight." Mira exhaled. "I know, but I'm willing to try, if you'll let me." Alden's gaze dropped to the stack of papers, reminders of every harsh reality these past months. He turned back to Mira. "I'll support you financially if you choose to enroll at a local university, but as for trust," he paused. "I need honesty and respect from now on. No more secrets." She nodded earnestly. "Deal." The three of them ate in relative silence, the tension gradually easing. Though bruised by betrayal, the family bonds remained. After dinner, Alden brought out a few boxes of old photos, pre-chaos snapshots of them at birthdays, beach trips, random weekend barbecues. They sorted through them, quietly reminiscing. Mira found one of Selena smiling in her old studio and fell silent, tears glistening. Alden set a gentle hand on her shoulder. "It's okay to still love her, you know. She's your mom." Mira wiped her cheek. "I do. I just can't pretend nothing happened." Rowan nodded solemnly, reflecting on how much had changed. The fragile new normal felt like a precarious bridge they were all trying to cross. Yet in that living room amid grilled cheese and photo boxes, they took the first steps toward mending trust. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting warm, golden light through the windows. Alden breathed in the moment, the hush of his once-shattered family rediscovering a semblance of unity. The divorce was final, the damage done, but life would move forward. And in that forward motion, there lay hope that they could redefine love, loyalty, and family ties on steadier ground. A crisp fall breeze swept through downtown Philadelphia, ruffling Alden Harrington's collar as he stood outside Harrington and Vermeil Engineering. A sudden vibration from his phone caught his attention, an email notification from the firm's senior partners. He stepped into the glass-walled lobby, heart pounding with anticipation. Inside the conference room, Garrett Vermeil offered a friendly wave. "Ready?" he asked quietly. A swirl of nerves and excitement washed over Alden. He'd spent the last decade pouring himself into every project, forging a reputation for precision and integrity. The partners sat at a long table. After a few brief formalities, one of them cleared her throat. "Alden, your work ethic and crisis management these last months haven't gone unnoticed. Despite personal upheaval, you've maintained impeccable performance." She passed a document across the table. "We'd like to appoint you as Managing Director of International Development." Alden inhaled sharply, scanning the official letter. It felt surreal. I'm honored," he managed, voice tight with gratitude. This new position meant broader responsibilities and a higher salary, but it also signified a recognition of his resilience. As the meeting concluded, Garrett clapped him on the back. "Congratulations. You deserve it, especially after everything you've been through." Alden offered a small, grateful smile. "Thanks, Garrett. It's been a journey." Later that day, he stopped by the old house, once his marital home, now stripped of Selena's presence, to gather a few remaining belongings. Autumn sunlight slanted through bare windows, dust motes dancing in the beams. The hush felt unnatural. He recalled family dinners, rowdy weekends with Mira and Rowan, Selena's laughter echoing in the hall. A different lifetime. His phone chimed again, an automated reminder: Project Osaka kickoff, 1 week. The international trip loomed large, a chance to expand the firm's global footprint. He locked the front door, reflecting on how that single text symbolized both personal and professional growth. Stepping onto a plane, forging a new path unencumbered by old ghosts. He left the silent house behind, shoulders a little straighter, ready to embrace whatever came next. 2 days later, Selena Caldwell sat on a wooden bench at Franklin Park, the crisp air carrying faint hints of fallen leaves and cut grass. A small bandage was taped to the side of her arm from her recent hospital stay. The tension in her posture suggested she was still recovering. She clutched a coffee cup for warmth, gaze flicking around as if searching for someone. At last, Alden approached from the opposite entrance, hands in his coat pockets. The swirl of leaves around his feet gave the moment a cinematic aura, an almost picturesque backdrop for a reunion that was anything but romantic. Selena rose, heart thumping. She hadn't seen him since the final court decision. She noticed how the lines of strain etched his face, but also the resolute calm in his eyes. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. He nodded, lips pressed thin. "I got your message. You said you wanted to talk." She gestured to the bench. They sat, maintaining a careful distance. The nearby fountain gurgled, a soft counterpoint to the thick silence. Finally, Selena mustered the courage to speak. I'm sorry, Alden, for everything. The affair, the financial deception, the lies I thought I wanted freedom, but I see now how destructive I was." Alden's expression remained impassive, though a flicker of pain crossed his eyes. "I believe you're sorry, but that doesn't change what happened." She exhaled slowly, gaze dropping to her coffee. "I lost the studio, lost Cyrus, almost lost myself." Her voice wavered. "It took me this long to realize how much I hurt you and the kids." He stared at a cluster of leaves drifting on the fountain's surface. "Why now? Why apologize?" Selena swallowed. "Because I need closure, and I need you to know I understand your anger. I'll respect whatever distance you need. I just hoped we could find some civility. For Mira and Rowan's sake." Alden finally shifted his gaze to her, his tone measured. "We have 2 children who still need guidance. I won't keep them from you. But don't expect me to pretend we can go back. This," he gestured between them, "was undone the moment you chose Cyrus and that offshore account." She nodded, tears threatening but not falling. "I know, I won't delude myself." A moment of silence passed, thick with regret. Alden stood first. "I'm leaving for Japan soon, work, ironically. You remember you wanted to go there for your birthday?" He trailed off, the old memory stinging like salt in a wound. Her eyes were wet. "I remember. We had so many dreams." She let out a shaky breath. "I'm glad you're still going." He shrugged, voice tinged with finality. "It's not the same trip, but it's an opportunity." Selena rose, hands trembling. "Thank you for hearing me out. I won't bother you again. If I need to see the kids, I'll coordinate with them directly." He gave a curt nod. "You do that." They parted with no hug, no warm farewell. Only an acknowledgement of closure, like 2 travelers on intersecting roads, now diverging forever. Back at Alden's modest 2-story home, Rowan flipped through college brochures at the kitchen table, while Mira scrolled on her phone, lost in thought. The midday sun streamed through the window, illuminating a space that had become their new normal. A half-eaten sandwich lay on a plate, abandoned while they mulled over life decisions. Mira glanced up. "Dad will be in Japan for how long?" Rowan shrugged. A few weeks, maybe a month off Andon. He's leading a big project in Osaka. Why? Mira pressed her lips together. I'm trying to figure out if I should stay here with you or maybe go with Mom. She talked about moving to a smaller town, trying to reboot her photography. But after everything, I'm not sure I trust that path. Rowan studied her face. You were always closer to Mom, but this situation changed you. Do you honestly want to follow her now? She rubbed her arms, a swirl of doubt etched in her eyes. I miss who she was before all the lies. But I also feel like I betrayed Dad. If I leave him again, it's like tearing the wound open. A soft cough alerted them to Alden entering the room. He'd overheard enough to pick up the topic. You don't have to make a final decision today, Mira. But I won't stop you from being with your mother if that's what you want. She turned, chest tightening. I don't want to leave you or Rowan. I think I'll stay. Study at the local state university. Maybe major in psychology or education. I can work part-time at a friend's shop. Alden offered a small, cautious smile. All right, I'll support you financially, but you'll need to show commitment. No more secrets, no more side deals. Her cheeks flushed. I promise. I've learned my lesson. She walked over to the couch where a stack of college application forms waited. I'll fill these out. Start applying for winter admissions. Rowan looked relieved, a shy grin tugging his lips. And me? I'm definitely heading toward architecture, maybe engineering. Dad, you said you'd introduce me to some folks at Harrington and Vermeil next summer? Alden nodded. Absolutely. We'll arrange an internship. For a moment, the three of them stood in a triangle of mutual acceptance, fragile but real. The house felt lighter, the gloom of betrayal dissipating. They still carried scars from Selena's actions, but at least they had each other. Outside, the autumn breeze rustled a solitary oak tree in the front yard, scattering leaves like a promise of change. Inside, the Harringtons wove a tenuous bond of trust, forging a path none of them had foreseen. A week later, Alden stood in Philadelphia International Airport's bustling concourse. Roller bags rattled across the tile floor, announcements for departing flights echoed overhead. He held a single carry-on, stuffed with documents for the Osaka project. Behind him, Mira and Rowan offered final hugs, standing close by as the crowd swirled around them. Sure you have everything? Mira teased, eyes bright with a newfound spark. Passport, laptop, the right clothes? Alden smirked. I'm not exactly a tourist, I'll be in meetings mostly. He turned to Rowan. Keep an eye on the house. Don't let your sister turn it into a club. Rowan rolled his eyes good-naturedly. I'm the responsible one, remember? They shared a brief laugh. Outside the terminal window, airplanes taxied under a pale morning sky. Alden's gaze drifted for a moment, remembering the heartbreak that once surrounded a very different Japan trip. He inhaled, chest tight but hopeful. This time, it's a fresh start. Catching sight of a departing family parents with two excited kids, he felt a pang. Memories of Selena and their early years tugged at him, but he refused to dwell on regret. He had new priorities, guiding Rowan's academic dreams, supporting Mira's path, and rebuilding himself. Stepping into the security line, he glanced back to see Mira and Rowan waving. He gave a thumbs up, a faint but genuine smile curving his lips. Turning forward, he felt an odd sense of calm mixed with anticipation, like standing on a runway himself, poised to take flight. On the plane, Alden found his seat by the window. As the engines roared and the aircraft angled skyward, the city lights fell away beneath him. He closed his eyes, recalling the tumultuous nights, the legal battles, the betrayal. All that storm is behind me now, he thought. In a quiet corner of his mind, he acknowledged the lesson, that a structure, be it a building or a family, depends on its foundation of trust. Once compromised, it must be rebuilt carefully or abandoned for something stronger. At cruising altitude, he peered through the window at the endless sky. A single reflection whispered in his heart, "The betrayal shattered our family, but it also taught me the power of honesty. A building demands integrity, so does a life. Now I move forward on solid ground,